Yes, tell their own stories. Hello, Lana, and welcome to the show today.
Hello, Vicki, and thank you for having me.
Yes, you want to tell the viewers a little bit about who you are?
Sure. I'm Lana Lewis Talib. I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a great grandmother, and I also was a caregiver to my sister.
All right. And that's where the book begins, right?
Exactly.
So, what inspired you to write the book?
Well, I started off just taking notes and journaling for myself, for to see if there was any chance of things maybe transpiring with me, to me. And I wanted to see how things were moving along in my sister's walk with her illness. And her illness was dementia.
And how did you guys discover that?
It was a long time coming, I'll say that.
Okay.
But one time, after many attempts to make a visit to the doctor with my sister, she allowed me to do that with her. So when the doctor asked, were there any final questions or concerns, I asked if I could ask if she would consider looking into my sister having early stages of dementia or Alzheimer's.
Okay, so there were things you as her sister were noticing about your sister.
Absolutely. And that's all covered in the book. But as a family, we noticed my sister having a lot of different behaviors that weren't the norm.
Okay.
And we often wondered, because she had a loss, her husband passed away, if that traumatic situation didn't bring on this dementia or Alzheimer's.
Okay.
Yes.
Because she was living alone before she moved in with you?
She was. She's always lived alone after the death of her husband, except for very early on after he passed. I lived with her.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
And so, yes, she did live with me for the last 7 years of her life. And it was as we noticed the dementia, the decline, and I felt that it was at the time to move her in. So that's when she came to live with me.
You know, that is really wonderful of you, though. It really, really is. And I know, men that I know you personally, there is several siblings.
Yes.
And you were the one that took her in, which everybody helped you out.
Absolutely.
But you literally took her into your home. And as you said at the beginning of the show, you're a mom.
Yes.
You're a wife.
Absolutely.
You're a grandmother. And now a great-grandmother.
Yes.
So you're just going to be so blessed for that. Now, when she was staying with you in those 7 years, and we're not going to tell it all because we have a book that they can get, but we're just going to touch a little bit so to help someone out that may be sitting there watching us now thinking, I wonder if that's what's going on with my sister. Because we just wonder at times when you start seeing different things.
Absolutely.
And I think everyone handles it differently. Everyone goes through their dementia stages differently.
Yes.
And so, like with one lady I know, she was a very, very classy lady.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, she just stopped bathing. She stopped changing clothes. So we figured, is that an early stage of dementia?
Yes.
She worked in the office building downtown. And so when you say your sister didn't allow you to go to the doctor with her, so she was still driving and taking herself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very independent. Very independent. And even when I wanted to move her in with me before she actually moved in, she felt the need to stay in her apartment. And as long as she was able to care for herself and do that, then there was really no problem. As I started to notice things like maybe she was paying bills duplicate times.
Okay.
And maybe considering taking her to the grocery, and she would say she had groceries, and when we went, she didn't. Just small things that made me think it's time to broach this again and see if she's ready to move in with my husband and I. So,
Oh, wow.
yes.
And what was that like for you and her, really?
At first, it was a thrill for both of us because she was still lucid enough to do things. She helped in my garden. She even planted things in the garden that she claimed her own area. We cooked together. We did a lot of very fun things that we used to do. We continued to do, but then the decline started. So I felt the need to put her in a day service program, and I thought it would be nice to have people of her own age doing things that, you know, they did and enjoyed together. So that was really a good move also.
Yeah.
And so COVID hit.
Yeah.
Yes, and I thought this may not be the best thing because there was not enough staff to monitor, you know, the seniors that were going through early signs of dementia or, you know, late stages of dementia. So I felt it was best to bring her back home.
All right. I'm surprised they still haven't come through COVID. That
Yes.
was such a time.
Well, it was a close down at the facility that she was at, but it was temporal. And you know, we know that the COVID pandemic lasted quite a while.
Yes, it did.
And they did feel that it was okay to reopen a lot of places, even though we were still going through that pandemic. I, as her caregiver, sister, felt that I didn't want that for her. I wanted her at home.
Okay. Let's get back to the book.
Sure.
You said it started with you just journaling.
Absolutely.
And what made you do that?
Just again, I wanted to make sure if there were things going on with my sister, I wanted to compare, you know, when I get this age, I want to see what I'm doing at this age.
Okay.
And I want to see next year how she is compared to this year. And so I started to journal, and then I started to journal all of her behaviors, how things were good days and bad days. And I realized this is starting to be more than just a journal. This is probably information that could be used by people that have family members, loved ones that are going through different stages that may be able to benefit from what I have found to be very beneficial for myself.
And it also would help your siblings too, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
They would come get her sometime as well.
Absolutely.
And then you were able to. I think that's a great idea for a lot of people that's taken care of. I think you put a good thing out there if they're not already doing it. That way you can go back and track what is changing.
Yes.
And like I said, we're not going to talk about the whole book. We want them to read the book.
Absolutely.
But what about the things such as the daily taking care of herself, the bathing, and did that change as well?
That was fine at first as well.
Okay.
And you know, the one day I noticed, the thing that I noticed that said, okay, yeah, this is where we may need to have caregivers to start coming in.
Okay.
Because for one person to do it on a daily basis, it's a piece of work. It's a job.
It's very overwhelming.
It can be, absolutely. I asked my sister to go ahead and dress herself, and I laid her clothes out, which I would do every morning. And this particular morning, she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what garment to put on first. She didn't know, you know, just where things should go. She would pick up the shirt and try to maybe put it on as a pant leg. And I realized this is a little further advanced than what I saw a couple of months ago. So the journaling again paid off because I was able to see more decline as time went on with my sister.
Okay, and the title of the book. How did you come up with that title?
In Their Shoes initially was just people need to look and see, you know, that everything's not always roses all the time. And, you know, put yourself in their shoes, you know. And the subtitle, The Long Walk Away, was actually my sister. One of my sisters was saying, you know, this is a long walk away. They tend to leave us, you know. So, yeah, that's where the title came from. In Their Shoes, The Long Walk Away.
And you know, that's a two-way thing. You know, they don't know, I imagine, but we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's very hard. Published author of In Their Shoes, The Long Walk Away. Okay, Lana.
Yes.
Question.
Sure.
Do you think your sister was aware that you were writing a book about her?
I think early on she was aware. And that made it really come to life for me because I felt like this was her story. this memoir belonged to her as well as it did myself, because I was living this with her. But I think early on she was very much aware.
Was there any parts of the book that was difficult for you
Maya.
to share? I know you were journaling. You were doing, writing your journal, so
Yes.
you had all that. But was there any part of once you went to publish the book that was difficult for you to share?
I think it was. And the part where the chapter that my sister walked away, I was at an event or volunteering, and she had never left the house ever alone. And when I came back home, my husband was home when I left. He was there when I came back, and he thought she was upstairs in her room. And when I looked the whole house over, she wasn't. I didn't want to tell that part. I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed. But I realized that this is what a lot of people with dementia and Alzheimer's have. They tend to want to go back home. And she was on that search to go back home, which home for her, in her mind, was where she had not lived for 40 years. But it was the home that we were, it was our family home. And she was trying to get back there. So that chapter was difficult, but
Very
it happens
helpful.
a lot. So
That was very helpful for someone because I'm sure they're dealing with that as well. So when she got out,
yes,
what did you do to try to prevent that from happening again?
it was very easy at that point. I knew that there was time to put deadbolts on the doors,
Okay.
put alarm on her bed. We had a company to come in, and they did the little alarm mattress. And just keeping a closer eye, because you think, okay, she's never done this before. She had never done a lot of things before. So now it was just time for me to be a little bit more on my P's and Q's and keep a closer eye on her. So those were some of the things we did.
You're such a wonderful sister. Such a wonderful
I have
sister.
wonderful families.
Yes,
siblings.
you do. Yes, you do.
Yes.
How many years apart were you and the sister that you took care of?
We were 15 years apart.
Really?
15 years apart. But we had so very much in common. But we were 15 years apart.
She was truly your big sister.
She was. She
now,
was.
tell me, Lana, do you see taking care of them as like taking care of a child again? Like you said, the things she never done before, like the walking out.
Absolutely. Absolutely, you do. But what you tend to realize when you live with it every day is that children grow up.
Exactly.
And what happens with people with Alzheimer's or dementia, they're not going to grow up out of the childish behaviors.
Okay.
You know, what will happen is it'll more than likely continue to get worse.
Okay. Did she continue talking the whole time?
She continued to talk the entire time.
Good. Did she talk about old things?
She did, not as often as, you would think, but she did. And she always wanted to make a trip to Africa. So my sisters, when they went to Egypt, she was right there with them. She went and she came back and she talked about that, and she loved it. So that was, one of her dreams, and she was able to do that before leaving here.
And I already stated that I know your family, and you guys are a very loving, close-knit family. And that was really amazing for your sister to take her, your sisters, to take her so far as Egypt.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. When she heard they were going, it was just, inevitable. She knew that she would be with them, and she did. And she talked about that trip, and my siblings that took her, they actually watched her just become that person that she was before the dementia.
Oh, wow.
It was amazing from what they tell me. And even when she came back and shared the stories, it was as if she didn't have dementia.
Wow, I know that was amazing for
It
you.
was. It was short-lived, but it was amazing.
Wow. Now, what made you take your notes and turn them into a book?
I felt like I was sitting here with all of these pieces and pages and things that I had put in the Word document, and it was like, okay, so I'm benefiting from it, but there has to be other people that can benefit from this, because it didn't only have my sister's story, my story. It had research, resources. It was a book that I felt like other people could benefit from. So that's where that came from.
Okay, and I think it's a great idea because as we were saying off air, even I think it's a great book to publish because even if and purchase because even if they don't need it now, they may run into someone that could use it.
Absolutely.
And then they'll remember what they heard you say.
Absolutely.
And they're like, let me get that book out.
Yes.
And
yes.
read this book. Because as you say, you have resources in there.
Absolutely.
You've done research.
Yes.
So it's not just solely, you just, well, let me tell my sister's story.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yes. And it also, it talked about caregivers. Because we had many of them to come into our home to be caregivers to my sister. So it told their stories as well.
Oh, I am so glad. I cannot wait to read this book.
Yes.
I am so glad to hear you say that about the caregivers because I tell people all the time caregivers need a lot of prayer and help as well.
Absolutely.
Because caregiving is one of the most important jobs that you will probably ever do in your life.
Exactly.
And it takes someone with a very great heart to be a caregiver.
Yes, it does.
It's not an easy job.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know you had covered caregivers as well.
Absolutely. My sister had several of them, and so each one's a synopsis about them is covered in the memoir as well.
So you feel you couldn't have done it as well as you've done it without those caregivers?
In some cases,
okay.
Yes, because everybody needs a break.
Exactly.
And so, when you get that break and you feel that this person's qualified and care enough about their job and your loved one for you to take that break, you should take that break.
Yes, as you said, care enough.
Yes.
Because all of them are not the same.
That's right.
And so you have
created equal.
Yeah. And then you have to find the one that makes the best for your loved one.
Exactly.
And everybody don't connect.
Exactly. And we had to find that out by going through, several different caregivers.
Okay, well then you got to the one that you're supposed to have.
Yes, that's for sure.
Yes. Now, I know, but you want to tell the listeners, you've had your sister for 7 years. And she's only been gone for about a year?
A year.
About a year
Absolutely.
now.
Absolutely. She passed away last February the 28th. Yes.
After y'all had celebrated her 80th birthday.
Exactly. And not only that, she was able to go to the unveiling of the book. She was able to be present for a short time. And so she was able to see the book in its completion. And she even had a T-shirt with the book name on it as well. And her 80th birthday was February 1st. I'm sorry. And we celebrated that, and then she passed away on February 28th.
And you would have never known watching her celebrate her 80th birthday.
I know.
Didn't you guys say she danced and everything?
She had, yes. And we still have that on video, so I'm really happy about that. So she had a good birthday, as she did always. So
Right. That is so wonderful, though. And you always have this story and those memories.
Yes, absolutely.
Of your big sister. That is really, really great. Now, let's tell them how they can purchase the book.
Absolutely. The book is available on Amazon. It's available at Barnes & Noble. It's available at Ujamaa Bookstore. You can also contact me at lana.talib@yahoo.com, or you can use I have another email that you can use, and it is arthurlanat@yahoo.com.
All right. And do you hand deliver those books yourself? You go to the post office, do all the great stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Lana, our interview is coming to an end, so I'd like to get your final thoughts for our viewers, if you'd like to share those with them before we close out the interview.
Just remember, for your loved ones, remember to love them as much as you can. Always let them know that you love them, because when they're gone, that's over. And know that dementia does not discriminate.
You're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right about that. And I want to thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome and sharing such a very personal, loving story.
Absolutely.
And also sharing it with the community through the book.
Thank you.
In Their Shoes, The Long Walk Away.
Absolutely.
Bless you.